Word on the street is that the most expensive player in the LCS recently got fired for tardiness. At least that's what IWDominate said last week in a YouTube video crediting the information to a trusted source.
Jojopyun has been terminated from Cloud9. So his contract was terminated for cause. This is something that I've heard from very trusted sources. The reason why Jojo was terminated was simply for tardiness.
Since then, others have come out and commented on Jojo's rumored termination, mostly to determine whether it had anything to do with the fact that against every foreseeable odd, Cloud9, the super team of the LCS, failed to qualify for Worlds. And by that I mean, did Cloud9 fail to make Worlds because of the supposed unprofessionalism that supposedly led to Jojo's supposed firing, or did Jojo's supposed firing stem from the fact that Cloud9 didn't make Worlds? Okay, so for those who didn't see, here is the recap. As mentioned, last week, former professional player and current content creator Christian IWDominate Rivera published a YouTube video where, citing trusted sources, he claimed that Joseph Jojopyun had been fired from Cloud9. Not benched, not traded, not shopped around, fired. Now, as with any legal contract, if Cloud9 wanted to terminate Jojo's, they would need cause. What that means is that Cloud9 need evidence to show that Jojo, both in the colloquial and very literal legal sense, didn't hold up his end of the contract, i.e. violated it in some way. And according to Dom's video, that violation comes in the form of Jojo's consistent tardiness.
And I was trying to figure out how late does somebody need to be in order to be terminated for cause? And I've never heard of Cloud9 terminating a player for cause like this, terminating a player because they simply weren't behaving to the standard that is set within the organization. Apparently, this is an issue that Jojo had the entire year. He had been late consistently, and at some point they started tracking. This is after, a track record of him being tardy multiple times in a row. There was a point where they started tracking how many times he was late after that. And after they started tracking it, there was 43 different infractions from my sources where Jojo was either late to team meetings, team workout, draft meetings, scrims, and eventually when he was late for the last one, Cloud9 decided to terminate his contract, which, yeah, like I said, that is completely crazy.
Now, if true, this does matter. Imagine showing up to your job late 40 plus times and expecting to keep it, right? How is anyone going to expect you to win Worlds if asking you to show up to a scrim on time is impossible? Now, to be clear, I love Jojo. I think he is by far the most talented player in the LCS and probably just the most exciting thing in the LCS. But if you are the star player of what was touted to be the LCS's very own super team, and you can't even be counted on to show up for a fucking draft meeting, and that's not even factoring in his salary. Dom went on to cite what Jojo's teammate, Blabber, said on a recent episode of The Sackdown, and apparently Jojo might just be the highest paid player in the LCS.
This year, I really wanted to play with Jojo, and I think Jojo's probably by far the highest paid player in the league.
And that is where this gets interesting. You see, if C9 can show that Jojo didn't hold up his end of what is apparently a very hefty contract, they no longer have to pay it. Now, to be fair, this also means they lose the ability to shop him around, which historically is something that Cloud9 have loved to do across all of their esports rosters, and they forfeit his buyout. But if all C9 want to do is just get out of the contract they signed with Jojo, this would achieve that. The question is, why? Why would Cloud9 want to part ways with Jojo so badly that they would willingly forfeit the ability to shop around what is reportedly the highest paid player in the LCS and the most promising? This is something that LS has been speculating about on social media, though it's fairly clear that, like Dom, he is struggling to comment because he knows other roster-related stuff that the public doesn't. He even went so far as to suggest that the cause in question was a, quote, farce, and drew attention to a Vulcan post where, jokingly or otherwise, Jojo's teammate IWDominate made a quip about tummy issues, which LS interpreted as possibly being indicative of Jojo suffering from something autoimmune related. Which, if true, does raise questions about the extent to which Cloud9 may have supported Jojo through any difficulties he may have been facing, which is something that Cubby drew attention to in a separate tweet. Maybe Jojo had a good reason for being late 40 plus times, if that's actually what happened. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? Dom drew specific attention to the subject of player laziness in the LCS, which, let's be honest, has been a meme for some time.
Jojo is a player who is one of the most talented players we've had in North America for a while now. He's just a player that I thought would become like our version of Chovy, right? North American Chovy is what I was hoping that Jojo would become. And obviously since the first year, it hasn't been going great, but he still has showed like definitely a lot of talent, a lot of ability. But I don't really like the idea of a player like that not putting in the effort, because how are you going to become the North American Chovy when other people are taking their job from what it seems more seriously?
That said, there was a clip of Jojo's former teammate Fudge taking offense to the accusation when someone in his chat made it while he was streaming.
He's not lazy. That's a myth. A little bit unprofessional, maybe, but lazy is a little bit of a myth.
What's more, as Travis Gafford revealed in a recent React video, Jojo's camp doesn't seem to think that the alleged infractions are severe enough to warrant a contract termination. And because of that denial, C9 will have to argue for it.
I've heard that Jojo's camp of folks are contesting the severity of the alleged tardiness and misbehavior.
That's why Travis thinks things could start getting messy, because we could be gearing up for a contract dispute. As Travis pointed out when he made the video, and this is still true at the time of our publication, Jojo's name is still in Riot's global contract database as active, which means they haven't recognized it as null. But here's the thing. Whether Jojo be lazy or, as Fudge seemed to intimate, maybe a little bit unprofessional, there is still just the overshadowing fact that Cloud9, the super team of the LCS, just failed to qualify for Worlds. If big changes are coming to this roster, and you need a reason to cut your star player who, in your eyes, hasn't been delivering, and you don't want to buy them out, and you don't want to go to the trouble of shopping them around, finding a cause to terminate their contract is a great solution to your problems. To be clear, I am not saying that Cloud9 are doing that. I don't know what their incentives are. I have no idea the extent to which Jojo may or may not have breached anything in his contract. None of us do. Not yet, anyway. The reality is that we are very likely going to get a whole lot more information about this that comes to light in the coming weeks, because that's what players and orgs in these types of situations tend to do. And when they do that, we'll make another video about it. Because that's what we do. See you then.